Have you ever made a sign using one of these? Stick around and I'll show you how I did it. Hi, I'm Paul. Welcome to my messy workshop. I'm going to be outside my comfort zone this time. I'm going to be making a sign that I'm going to route by hand using a trim router. And I've got a 60-degree bit in here. And that's what I'm going to carve it with. So let me show you how I'm starting. Well, it all started out when I got a request to make a sign. And my first answer was, I don't do signs. I don't know how to do them. I'm not comfortable trying to do them. I'm not that good an artist. I don't do signs. Well, I finally got worn down and I agreed to give it a try. So what I started out doing is I made a paper template of what they wanted. And if you notice, Shack is not spelled correctly. There's just a little play on their last name. So anyway, that's what they decided they wanted. So I printed this off on Corel Draw and taped it all together so I knew what I was dealing with. Then I went to my 3D printer and I printed all the letters that I would need. And I think they're, if I remember right, they're 3 1/4 inches tall. So anyway, I printed out all these letters. And I had some poplar that was just a tad over 10 inches wide. And I was afraid if I glued 2 of these together that I would have a terrible time with it cupping. So what I did is I cut it into like 3 1/4 inch strips. And then I glued all those strips together and I ended up with my board that I'm going to carve the sign on. Let me lay out the letters and get them all where I want them on my board, and then I'll be back and show you the next step. Well, I've got my letters laid out, and I have some flat black primer. And this wood, I better back up just a little bit. This wood has 2 coats of sanding sealer on it. And the reason it has sanding sealer on it is I don't want this primer to soak into the wood. I want to be able to take it off. I want to be able to sand it off easily. So anyway, I've got my letters laid out where I want them. And all I'm going to do is put a very, very light coat, as light as I can. And I'm not real good with a spray can, but I want to put a real light coat of primer over the letters. I think that'll do it. Now my letters, when this is all done, my letters are going to stand out from the background. So let's let the primer dry for a second, and then I'll show you what I have after that's done. All right, my paint is dried, and I took my letters off, and now you can see what I have left. I have a perfect outline of all these letters. So I can take my router and I can follow the lines around all the letters. And when I'm done, I should have the letter standing proud of the background, or at least around the letter. I'm going to do that first before I do the background. But anyway, I'm going to go over, I'm going to start doing that. It's going to be really messy. So after I get part way done, I'll show you the progress. Well, at this point, I have all my letters roughed out. I still have to remove the rest of the field. I have to draw a border around here for where I want to have the background end, and I have to clean all that out. So there's a lot of routing left to do. Time for an update. I've got all of the routing done. So what I'm going to do now is just go around with my Dremel tool, and any spots that don't look quite right, or rough spots in the background, or just things that need to be cleaned up, I'm going to clean them up with my Dremel tool. Well, it's cleaned up about as well as I can get it. So now I'm going to move on to the next step. And that is painting everything I've done with flat black spray paint. And especially the background, I want to have a really good coat on. I'll get this paint on, I'll let it dry overnight before I do anything else. So I'll catch you on the next step. Well, the next step in our sign making is to get rid of all the black paint that we don't want, which includes the letters and the border and things like that, just leaving the black in the background. There it is, all sanded and ready for some finish. Well, the sign is done. I'll show it to you in just a second. First, I wanted to tell you a little bit about the finish. I didn't film finishing it because I sprayed it and I didn't want to get spray all over my camera. But I finished it in this Total Boat product. It's called Halcyon Clear. I used a satin varnish. It comes in gloss, it comes in satin, it comes in an amber tint satin and an amber tint gloss. I just used the clear satin. The reason I used it is it's a marine varnish and it is UV resistant. So this sign should hold up quite well. Now the final shot of the sign. Here's how it came out. I'm real happy with it. The finish is real smooth. It really came out nice for my first sign. So I appreciate your watching. If you have any questions on how I did this, just drop me an email, paulsmessyworkshop@gmail.com. If you're not a subscriber, I'd appreciate it if you hit the subscribe button. If you give me a thumbs up, that would be great. So until next time, happy woodworking and thanks for watching.